Have you ever heard a fact so unbelievable that your first instinct was to say that can't possibly be true? The kind of statement that sounds like a prank, a myth, or something ripped straight out of a science fiction movie but isn't. What if I told you that right now there are facts about our world, our bodies, history, and even space that sound like complete lies, yet have been proven true beyond any reasonable doubt? Some of these facts were discovered by accident. Others took decades, even centuries, to confirm, and many of them were dismissed as nonsense when they were first proposed until evidence forced the world to accept them. Today, we're diving into a collection of facts that will make you question how much you really know about reality itself. Stay with me, because every single one of these has been verified, documented, and backed by science or historical record. And by the end of this video, you may never look at the world the same way again. Let's start with something that feels impossible. Octopuses have 3 hearts, and their blood is blue. This isn't a metaphor or a fun science tidbit. It's biological fact. 2 of an octopus's hearts pump blood to its gills, while the third pumps it to the rest of the body. The reason their blood is blue is because it contains hemocyanin, a copper-based molecule that carries oxygen more efficiently in cold, low-oxygen environments. Human blood uses iron-based hemoglobin, which turns red when oxygenated. Copper oxidizes differently, producing a blue color. Even stranger, when an octopus swims, the heart that pumps blood to the rest of its body temporarily stops beating, which is why octopuses prefer crawling to swimming. It's literally exhausting for them. Now, let's talk about something closer to home. You are not made of solid matter in the way you think you are. In fact, if you removed the empty space between atoms, the entire human population could fit into a sugar cube. Atoms are mostly empty space. Nucleus is incredibly tiny compared to the overall size of the atom, and electrons orbit far away relative to that scale. What gives objects their solidity isn't packed matter, but electromagnetic forces repelling other atoms. So when you touch a table, you're not really touching it in the traditional sense. You're feeling the repulsion between electrons. This concept is fundamental physics, and while it sounds absurd, it's one of the cornerstones of our understanding of matter. Here's another one that feels like a cruel joke. Bananas are radioactive. Yes, the fruit sitting in your kitchen emits radiation. Bananas contain potassium, and a small fraction of that potassium is the naturally occurring radioactive isotope of potassium-40. The radiation level is completely harmless to humans, but sensitive instruments like Geiger counters can detect it. Scientists even use a unit called the banana equivalent dose to explain radiation exposure in relatable terms. It's a perfect example of how something that sounds dangerous is actually a normal part of everyday life. Now let's travel back in time, because history has some of the strangest truths of all. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid was completed around 2560 BCE. Cleopatra ruled Egypt around 30 BCE. The moon landing happened in 1969 CE. That means Cleopatra lived over 2,000 years after the pyramids were built, but only about 2,000 years before humans walked on the moon. Our mental image often lumps ancient Egypt into a single era, but in reality, its history spans thousands of years. Speaking of time, there's a place on Earth where time literally moves slower. Due to Einstein's theory of relativity, clocks tick at different speeds, depending on gravity and velocity. Atomic clocks placed at different altitudes have proven this. A clock at sea level ticks slightly slower than one on a mountain, because gravity is stronger closer to Earth's center. GPS satellites have to account for this effect, or navigation systems would accumulate errors of several kilometers per day. Time dilation isn't theoretical. It's something your phone relies on every time you check direction. Here's a fact that sounds like a nightmare scenario. Sharks existed before trees. Sharks have been around for over 400 million years. Trees, as we know them, appeared roughly 350 million years ago, when the first forests began to grow on Earth. Sharks were already swimming in ancient oceans. This means sharks survived multiple mass extinctions, including the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. Their reputation as ancient killing machines isn't just dramatic flair. It's evolutionary reality. Now let's talk about your brain, because it's doing something right now that sounds completely fake. Your brain cannot feel pain, despite being the organ that processes pain signals. The brain itself has no pain receptors. This is why surgeons can perform brain surgery on awake patients. The scalp and skull feel pain, but once those are bypassed, the brain itself does not. This fact is well documented in neuroscience and has been used in medical procedures for decades. Here's another unsettling truth: you are glowing. Every human emits a very faint, visible light. This phenomenon is caused by biochemical reactions in the body that produce small amounts of light through a process called bioluminescence. When cells produce energy, they sometimes release photons. The light is far too weak for our eyes to detect, but ultra-sensitive cameras can capture it. So technically, humans glow in the dark. We're just not bright enough to notice. Now let's move to space, where reality often sounds the most unbelievable. There are clouds in space made of alcohol. Sagittarius B2, a massive molecular cloud near the center of the Milky Way, contains enormous quantities of ethanol, essentially cosmic alcohol vapor. There's also evidence of ethyl formate, which gives raspberries their flavor. This doesn't mean space smells like a bar or a fruit stand, but it does show that complex organic molecules can form naturally in space. These discoveries are part of ongoing research into the origins of life. Here's something that sounds like a conspiracy but isn't. Water can boil and freeze at the same time. This happens at a specific temperature and pressure known as the triple point. At this point, water can exist simultaneously as a solid, liquid, and gas. This isn't a theoretical curiosity. It's a measurable physical condition used to calibrate thermometers and define temperature standards. Let's return to Earth with a fact that feels almost insulting to human intelligence. There are more possible games of chess than atoms in the observable universe. This number, known as the Shannon number, estimates the total number of unique chess games at around 10 to the power of 120. The estimated number of atoms in the observable universe is around 10 to the power of 80. Chess is not just a game. It's a mathematical monstrosity. This is why even the most powerful computers cannot calculate every possible outcome. Here's one that challenges everything you think you know about sleep. You can die from lack of sleep, not metaphorically, literally. Fatal familial insomnia is a rare genetic disorder that prevents sufferers from sleeping. Over time, the lack of sleep leads to hallucinations, physical deterioration, and eventually death. While extremely rare, the condition proves that sleep is not optional. It's a biological necessity as fundamental as food or water. Now, consider this. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still edible. Honey's low moisture content, high acidity, and natural hydrogen peroxide production create an environment where bacteria cannot survive. If stored properly, honey can last indefinitely. It's one of the few foods on Earth that never goes bad. Here's a psychological twist that sounds made up. Your memories are not recordings. Every time you remember something, you are actually rewriting it. Neuroscience has shown that recalling a memory makes it temporarily unstable, allowing it to be altered before being stored again. This means your memories change slightly every time you remember them. Over years, even vivid memories can drift far from reality without you realizing it. Let's talk about sound, or rather the lack of it. Space is completely silent. Sound requires a medium, like air or water, to travel. In the vacuum of space, there is no medium, so sound waves cannot propagate. Explosions in space would look dramatic but make no noise. The iconic sounds in sci-fi movies are purely artistic invention. Here's another fact that feels backward. Hot water can freeze faster than cold water. This is known as the Mpembe effect. Under certain conditions, hot water freezes more quickly than cooler water due to factors like evaporation, convection currents, and dissolved gases. The effect has been observed since ancient times and is still studied today. Now consider this. your stomach gets a completely new lining every few days. The acids in your stomach are strong enough to dissolve metal, to prevent digesting itself. The stomach replaces its lining roughly every 3 to 4 days. This process is so efficient that you never notice it happening. Let's end with one final truth that sounds like a lie but might be the most important of all. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating. Distant galaxies are moving away from us faster and faster, driven by a mysterious force scientists call dark energy. We don't fully understand what dark energy is, but observations confirm its effects. The universe isn't just getting bigger, it's doing so at an increasing rate. So what does all of this mean? It means that reality is far stranger, more complex, and more fascinating than fiction. The world is full of truths that sound impossible until you look closer. And the more we learn, the more we realize how much there is left to discover. If you enjoyed having your mind challenged and your curiosity rewarded, make sure to like this video, it helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content that explores the strange, the fascinating, and the verified truth hiding in plain sight. And stay connected, because the next fact that sounds like a lie might be even more unbelievable than the last. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.